Hey, hello everyone. So welcome to my second lecture on the solving GATE question paper. So as you know, I am solving GATE 2020 question paper, and I am solving 5 questions at each time. So I have solved question 1 to 5. Now I am going to solve question number 6, question number 7, question number 16, question number 17 and question number 26. Why this number difference? Because I am solving only organic questions, right? So without wasting time, let's start. So the first question is, in the following reaction sequence, what is the product P and what is the product Q? So this is the reaction. You can see here, here it is orthonitrotoluene, and then you have diethyl oxalate in presence of sodium methoxide, what it gives, and then further followed by reduction in presence of zinc and acetic acid, what is the Q. So there are various choices, you can see here. One sec, you can see the choices here, A, B, C and D. Let's just look at solution for P, the answer for P, choices for P. So one thing is, it's a nucleophilic addition. Either the benzene ring or the methyl group, they are going and attacking this part of the ring, okay, this part of the molecule, and so that ethyl gets out. So if you look at A, choice A, what is happening is this methyl group, one proton is lost and then attack is happening. If you see choice B, on the benzene ring, ortho position to the nitro, so this part is going and attacking oxalate and then you are getting P. If you see third, again in the C, this methyl group, one proton is lost and then attachment is happening, and D, para position to nitro group, attack is happening. So very clearly the logic behind the P is, sodium methoxide acts as a base. It either removes proton from the ring or it is removing proton, it is attacking proton and removing proton from the methyl group, and then the reaction is happening. Otherwise mechanism is same. Let's go step by step, then we will appreciate it. Now sodium methoxide is a very powerful base. It can also act as a good nucleophile. So we will see here, will it react with the with this substrate? Will it react with this substrate or will it react with this substrate? So let us look at this molecule. So in this molecule, if you look here, it is CH2CH3, ET means ethyl group. Here there is no proton which is acidic, because even imagine if it was CH2 and you remove a proton here. So if you remove a proton, you get a negative charge. How will know a proton is acidic or not? After removal of the proton, what you get, the conjugate base, that should be stable. So now imagine you get this negative charge. Now negative charge just next to it is carbon, is oxygen, which is single bonded. So it is not being stabilized. So therefore there is no acidic proton. So sodium methoxide will not attack on this molecule. At the best, what it can do is it can go and attack as nucleophile here. So you know, understand the difference between nucleophile and carbon or base. Base attacks proton, that is hydrogen. Hydrogen with positive charge, it takes away hydrogen from molecule as H plus, and nucleophile attacks carbon. So it can attack here as carbon, but then what happens? The pi bond goes on oxygen, then it comes back in the second step. That's why I am showing double headed arrow, and then OET goes away and you get same starting material. That means sodium methoxide is not reacting with this. So let us look what is reacting with. So sodium methoxide acts as a base. Now we see two choices are there, either it removes proton from CH3 or it is removing from the benzene ring. So let us look why nitro. Now nitro, what it does it, if a proton is removed from this molecule and you got a negative charge on the ring, so if a negative charge is coming on the ring, nitro will stabilize it. Nitro is a very powerful electron withdrawing group. Let us look here on the benzene ring. Imagine if this pi electron comes here. So nitrogen is having positive charge and then this bond comes here, oxygen stabilizes a negative charge. So through resonance it pulls away electron from the benzene ring, and therefore it is a powerful electron withdrawing group, and therefore it will help in stabilizing the conjugate base. Now understand one thing, proton from benzene ring can never be acidic, it cannot be taken out. Why? Thing is, it is acidic means after removal of this proton, after removal of this proton, so when I remove H plus, what you get is a negative charge. So when you get negative charge, anything which is charged is not stable, remember this. So if you are able to reduce this negative charge, it is stable. So if I am able to something like I am able to push this negative charge here somewhere, so then I can say that okay, this negative charge is negative charge is stabilized, so conjugate base is stabilized, so proton is acidic. But the problem is this, imagine if I am removing proton from here, you get a negative charge, you say something like this goes here and this goes here, and then something happens and then this goes off, or yeah, something like that, then we can say that yeah, probably benzene ring can be stabilized, benzene rings proton can be acidic. But the problem is it can never happen. Why? See this benzene ring, you have to understand how it looks like. It is planar, the whole ring is on the screen as you are seeing. Then what happens? The p orbitals are perpendicular to it. Now it is something like, I cannot draw because I do not have 3-dimensional ink, otherwise I would draw one p orbital comes outside the screen, one p orbital goes inside the screen, one p orbital goes outside the screen, one p orbital goes inside the screen. So this is the p orbital, one lobe goes outside, one lobe goes inside, it's the same p orbital. So it is parallel. Now for conjugation to happen, the orbitals have to be parallel so that they overlap. So here benzene ring, the whole electron system is delocalized. Why? Because these two p orbitals overlap, these two p orbitals overlap. But the thing is, this proton is on the plane, it is exactly like benzene. So when you remove this proton with base, you get negative charge on the benzene, which is again in the plane. So now this lone pair of electron, that negative charge, it is orthogonal, or I can say it is perpendicular to that of p orbital. See here, see the p orbital is here perpendicular, whereas this is on the plane. Here I have drawn another way. What I have tried to show is this benzene ring, this part of the benzene ring is coming outside the screen, this part is going inside the screen, and only these two carbons are on the benzene ring. So that these p orbitals, you can say they are 90 degrees, right. So now this is coming outside the board, it is exactly like benzene. So now the angle between p orbital, angle between the p orbital and this lobe is 90 degrees. So they do not overlap. So this negative charge remains on this carbon. So it is localized, lot of negative charge, huge amount of negative charge polarity, sorry, negative charge concentration, and therefore negative charge density is very high, so very unstable. It will immediately go and pick up proton wherever it will find. That means it is very unstable conjugate base, and therefore benzene rings proton is not acidic. So what I am left with is, I am left with proton of the methyl group. So what happens? Methyl group proton is quite acidic. Okay, you can read it. I will go slowly. Yeah. So what happens? Methyl group proton is very acidic. Why? Here it is generally methyl group proton will not be acidic because sol sp3 hybridized carbon is not at all electronegative. But here it is stable. Why? Once you remove this proton, you get negative charge. Now if the negative charge would have remained localized on this carbon, it would have been very unstable, and because it was very unstable, it is a very strong base. That means starting acid was weak, but it is not like that. This proton is removable, that means it is pretty strong acidic, not strong, but it is always a relativity, but it is acidic. Why? Because it is very stable conjugate base, that means very weak conjugate base. What happens? This negative charge comes and attacks here on between these two carbon, and this pi orbital comes here. So what you get? You get negative charge on this, and now the negative charge gets stabilized over this nitro group, and then later many things can happen. This will come down here, this will come here, and then then again pi orbital comes here. So, basically what we are trying to say is the CH2 stabilizes negative charge very well, because the whole negative charge delocalized over the benzene ring and more importantly nitro group. So, that is what is acidic, and this is what will go and attack the oxalate. Why it is oxalate? Because you should know it is oxalic acid. I will just give you a brief understanding how to remember dicarboxylic acid. Just remember this formula, Ohm's gap, OMS GAP, okay, GAP. So, what is O? O is oxalic acid, M is malonic acid, S is succinic acid, G is glutaric acid, A is adipic acid, P is palmitic acid. So, oxalic acid is nothing but COOH and another COOH. So, that is what is oxalic acid. Ohm's gap, okay, that is oxalic acid. Malonic means just increase one carbon. So, what you do is you put a CH2 in between, that is malonic acid, then succinic acid, you have to put 2 more carbons. So, it will be something like this. So, that is how you can remember. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 carbons are there. Now, here you can see it is 2 oxalic, COH are next to each other. So, it is oxalic acid and it is ester. So, it is diethyl oxalate. Ester we always speak as 8 while naming. Okay. So, now this CH2 will go and attack, let me just rub it off, right. So, this CH2 minus goes and attacks here, and this goes up, comes down, this ethyl group leaves, and this is what you get P. So, very clear cut, we are left with choices A and C, because that is what it was. So, let us go back and see what is in A and C, right. In A and C, if you look, once this is formed, then they are reducing with zinc and acetic acid. So, zinc and acetic acid, it reduces nitro group. Oh, sorry, I had written NO here, it is NO2. Okay. So, that was a mistake. So, NO2, it will reduce NH2, and then what we can see in A is this NH2 is going and attacking on this carbon, so that this OET minus leaves. So, you will get something like this. This looks quite good to me. Only issue is there is another C double bond O which was here, which is not here. Okay. So, this creates confusion to me. It looks like this should not be the answer, because one C double bond O is missing. To convert C double bond O, what is basically what I can understand from this answer is this C double bond O, this C double bond O is becoming CH2. To convert C double bond into CH2, there is only 2 ways to do it. One way is you can either do by Wolff-Kishner reduction, that is NH2 NH2 KOH in basic condition with hydrazine, you can reduce C double bond O to CH2, or you can do Clemmensen reduction. Clemmensen reduction is zinc amalgam in presence of HCl. So, we do not have zinc amalgam here, it is only zinc, and we do not have HCl, it is a acetic acid. So, definitely it will not reduce C double bond O to COH. So, this looks unlikely to me. Let us see at C. See, what is happening is this NH2 is attacking on this, and some things will be happening which we will see soon. This COET remains there, and that is what it is being seen here. This is what is forming. So, to me looks like C should be the answer, but we will find out through mechanism. Yeah. So, one thing is you understand this, to reduce nitro into NH2, the best way is metal in acid. So, generally we either use zinc HCl or we use zinc acetic acid. Either way you do, you will reduce nitro to NH2. Then occasionally you can also use catalytic hydrogenation. You might be thinking why I am telling all these things, because my aim is not to solve this question paper. My aim is to teach you organic chemistry through this. So, we can always also do using catalytic hydrogenation H2PDC there, but problem is you have to do only at normal pressure. You cannot increase pressure, because if you increase pressure, then this benzene ring also can get reduced. So, if you do at 1 atmospheric pressure, benzene will not be touched at all. Very easily just put hydrogen in balloon and put on the top of your round bottom flask. So, it will reduce NO2 to NH2. That is one of the ways of doing. So, very clearly when I am doing this, I am reducing that. So, now thing is, in choice A, NH2 is attacking the ester, right. So, one thing what we saw is that C double bond O was missing. So, C double bond O is missing, looks wrong. Apart from that, what happens is, why it is attacking C double bond O and not COOET. So, let me go back and explain to you. So, when it becomes NH2, understand, if it becomes NH2, this lone pair attacks here. If it attacks here, you get a 6-membered ring. Now, 6-membered ring is both kinetically favored and thermodynamically favored. Whereas, if it attacks on this one, you get 5-membered ring. Now, 5-membered ring is also kinetically and thermodynamically favored. But remember this, 5-membered ring is kinetically little, very little, but little more favored than 6-membered ring, whereas 6-membered ring is thermodynamically more favored than 5-membered ring. What I am trying to say is, it is faster for reaction to happen to make 5-membered ring because it is kinetically favored. But if you see stability of product, 6-membered ring is more stable than 5-membered ring. So, we can say that it can attack here also because this gives you more stable product. But the thing is this, here NH2, the lone pair has to go and attack. Okay. This I have drawn properly down, so I will show you there. Yeah. So, that NH2 is there, so and nitrogen has lone pair of electron. So, that is what acts as nucleophile. Nucleophile, you have to always remember, nucleophile means Nu minus, electrophile means E plus. So, Nu minus does not mean always negative charge, it can be negative polarity, like here lone pair of electron. Similarly, E plus is what attracts electron, electrophile. So, it need not be positive charge, it can be positive polarity. So, here nitrogen lone pair is there. So, now lone pair can attack on this ketone much more faster than it will attack on this ester. Why? See, finally, it is a nucleophile and nucleophile has to attack positive charge. On this carbon, if you see, on this carbon, oxygen is there, which is pulling the pi electron very close towards itself. So, lot of positive polarity and therefore, attack is much favored. Whereas, here what is happening is, here oxygen is there of this OET part. So, this oxygen lone pair comes here because conjugation has to be there and then this goes up. So, what is happening is, this carbon receives certain amount of electron density. Because this carbon receives certain amount of electron density, the amount of positive polarity is reduced. Please understand this, amount of positive polarity is reduced. So, rather than attacking here, it will attack here because here there is more positive polarity than this and therefore, choice A is wrong. Okay. So, we have to think from mechanism, then only we will get it. Just look at the product and do not go by it, because this was very confusing question. People might have thought, okay, it might be some form of Clemmensen reduction and that is why that C double bond O is going, but it is not like that. You have to look at the mechanism. Nucleophile NH2 will attack C double bond O more favorably than COOET. Ester is less favored, nucleophile attack on ester is less favored than attack on carbonyl group. So, that is what is happening. So, what I said is I have written here less favored, whereas this one leads to more favored. So, what all I said is written here, formation of 5-membered ring is kinetically more favored than 6-membered ring, but thermodynamically less stable than 6-membered ring. So, let us see what happens here. Now, this NH2 attacks on this carbon and this one goes up, and while it goes up, it takes away the proton from this nitrogen because nitrogen get positive charge. So, because you all are smart enough, I am not writing that part, I am just writing here OH. Now, OH takes away proton because you have zinc and acetic acid is still there. It takes away proton, becomes water. Now, water is an excellent leaving group. Water is very stable, so it is a very good leaving group. So, this nitrogen gives here and H2O is lost and you are getting this kind of molecule, and then again water takes away proton from here, because here nitrogen having positive charge, nothing is stable when they have charge. So, therefore, this proton is lost from the neighboring carbon and then this moves in and this comes up and you get this product. This is the Q, and therefore, the answer is C, P and Q. Please revise it again, do it yourself. I will be posting in this PDF also as a drive through drive on the description section of YouTube. Let us look at this molecule now. This question, major product formed in the given reaction is, so this alpha D glucose which is reacting with acetone in presence of acidic medium, H plus is there. Okay. Acetone is excess, something like 20 equivalents of D glucose. So, that we are not saying anything constraint is there, wherever reaction is possible let us do. So, you know glucose, all of you must be knowing it has something like this structure. So, it has OH and OH. Okay. So, if OH and OH, so many OH are there, total 6 OH are there on the glucose, and if you put acetone, you know what kind of reaction happens. This is acetal protection, because but it is ketone, we can also say ketal, but ketal you should know is a common name. The IUPAC name still remains acetal, though even it may react with ketone. So, in presence of acid, what happens is this oxygen lone pair goes and attacks here, this oxygen lone pair also goes and attacks here, and this oxygen goes away with these protons and H2O is lost, and we get protection, something like this, we get protection. So, this is acetal protection of diols. Here, because acetone, we also call it formation of acetonide. Now, reaction will always go in such a way that more and more number of acetonides are formed, that is what will be thermodynamically favored. So, let us look at the molecules, what are the products they have given. So, first product they have given is, in glucose one acetal is formed. Out of all the OH present, only one of the diol is able to interact and forming acetonide. Here the glucose is in pyranose form, that means it is 6 membered ring. Here the glucose is 5 membered ring, it is furanose form, and here 2 of the diols are able to react. This is 1 and this is second, 2 diols are reacting. So, if you ask me, if I have to go something like Crorepati, I do not know anything, and they ask me choice and I come to 50-50 and they tell me between A and B, I would have chosen B even if I do not know mechanism, because it gives me some idea that more number of acetonide is formed. So, it is thermodynamically more favored. So, this is what should happen rather than one acetonide formation. Similarly, if you go at C, now C looks more interesting. Here the pyranose form is intact and you are having 2 acetonide formation. So, this also looks possible to me, and here again you are having 5 membered ring and then you are having 2 acetonide formations. So, if I have to just reject one, I would have just rejected choice number A, because choice number A has only one acetonide formation, but we cannot think like that, we have to do step by step. Let us do. So, it says alpha D glucose. So, let me draw alpha D glucose. For me, it is always convenient to draw this chair conformation. So, it is very easy for us to make glucose. Why? Because forget about this anomeric carbon, that is carbon number 1 which I have drawn. Let us look from carbon number 2. Okay? Let us look from carbon number 2. So, if you look from carbon number 2, when you draw a cyclohexane, cyclohexane has 2 substituents. One, like you see this carbon, no? This carbon, what is happening? This is coming down, this is coming down. So, both carbon come down. So, this peak, one will go straight away down, that will be axial, and one will go in other direction, that is equatorial. Now substituents are preferred to be in equatorial position than axial because axial faces 1,3 diaxial flagpole interaction. So when that comes, I will explain you later, we need not worry about it right now, but understand equatorial, substituent on equatorial is favored. In glucose, all the OH are in equatorial position. See this is equatorial, this is equatorial, this is equatorial, and this is also equatorial. So if you say, if you ask me, if you don't know, let me teach you a little bit how to draw axial. So see here on this carbon number 2, see this is going up, this is going up. So here on top you have to just make straight line. Carbon has 4 valency, so here only 3 bonds are there. Fourth one you make straight like that and put it H here. Similarly, if you come here, so one is going down, one is going down. So straight away down, hydrogen, this is axial, here this is axial, and here this is axial, and CH2OH is equatorial. So glucose is very easy to make all the OH on equatorial position, and now alpha beta. So if the OH on the anomeric carbon is alpha position, this is alpha D glucose is in the axial position. Okay, so hydrogen here is on the equatorial position, but if OH is on equatorial position and hydrogen is on axial position, it is called as beta D glucose. Here actually they need not have told alpha D glucose, had they just said D glucose also, it would have given same product. Why? Because we don't bother about alpha or beta. As soon as you put in solution, that too acidic solution, immediately anomerization will happen. Okay, immediately anomerization will happen, and one second, and what happens is alpha and beta glucose start staying in equilibrium. That means some amount of alpha is there, some amount of beta is there, depending on condition it may their proportion may change, or both will be there. Now imagine one of them is reacting, alpha is reacting, so and giving a more stable product. Then what happens? As alpha keeps getting reduced, beta will keep getting pushed towards alpha, and then again the reaction will keep happening till all the beta gets over and it forms alpha, and then alpha keeps giving the reaction. So there was no need of giving alpha because it does not make sense. After all, you are doing reaction solution, alpha will not remain alpha, it will become it will anomerize, and then little amount of alpha will push the reaction to completion. Now we are going to make this alpha D glucose into pyranose form, because that makes my job easy to explain. I can very well explain here also, but let me draw in the pyranose form. See here. Now you have to understand what is above plane, what is below plane. Look at this carbon. This carbon is OH and hydrogen is in equatorial. Now which looks above to you? Does hydrogen looks up or OH looks up? Hydrogen looks up, OH looks down. So this is above the plane, OH is below the plane. So let us concentrate only on OH. Let's concentrate only on OH. So here OH is below the plane. Now on position number 2, what happens is H was on top, OH is down. So this OH is also below the plane. So what we can see is these two are in on the same plane. These two OH are on the same plane. Whereas if you look here, whereas if you look on this carbon here H is down, you can see H is down, OH is above the plane. That means third one is not in the same plane as 1 and 2, but fourth one is down. So fourth one is in same plane as 1 and 2, but not as third, and this fifth CH2OH is also above the plane. So it's always good to draw in a way, whenever you see in cyclohexane form, always do this, okay, without any doubt. If you see something below the plane, draw it away from the viewer in 3-dimensional form. If you see something above the plane, draw it toward the viewer. So let me make alpha D glucose. I am making this alpha D glucose, and you are having 1 and you are having 1. This one is below the plane. You can see here below the plane. So I am drawing it away from the viewer. This is carbon number 1. Carbon number 2 is again below the plane because hydrogen is above the plane, right? So this OH will also, I will also put away from the viewer. So that's why this is dash. Towards the viewer means you have to make solid, away means dash. What about this OH? So this OH is above the plane. See this OH is above the plane. So I draw it towards the viewer, and fourth one is below the plane, so away from the viewer, and CH2OH is again above the plane, hydrogen was below, so I am drawing it above the plane. So now for the diol formation we need 1,2 diol, very important, you need 1,2 diol, next to each other you need diol. And not only that, what we need is cis diol. So I think I have drawn here, I will show you. Yeah, I have drawn here. See, imagine something like this is there. So now these two OH are on the same side, they are cis. So only these two OH will react, whereas this OH is on the left side, this was on the right side. So one will be towards the viewer, one will be away from the viewer. These two will not react, and you can see that this acetal or ketal formation does not happen, whereas ketal formation happens only on these two. So similarly, if you look on this glucose, you see that these two are on one side because away from the viewer, away from the viewer. Now this and this are not on the same side, and this one actually is not 1 and 2. Here OH is not there, it is 1, 3. It can form a 6-membered ring, but then what happens is it forms something like this. If you look, it forms something like this. Okay. So now one methyl group comes here and another methyl group comes here. Now this creates lot of steric hindrance, because this CH3 is in axial position, and so this interacts with this, and therefore this reaction does not happen. So effectively what I am saying is, if the glucose remains in pyranose form, only 1 and 2 would have reacted and you would have got only one acetal formation. So this is not very favorable. If possible, it will go for 2, right? So this would have happened. So this is not thermodynamically favorable. So what it does, it undergoes anomirization and becomes furanose form, 5-membered ring. In furanose also these 3 parts remain same, you can see here, and only this part they react. You don't have to learn all that part, this is enough. So this opens up and you get 5-membered ring and you are getting this. Now this 1,2 diol is again, it can be cis because it is single bond, so it can rotate. I have not drawn here, it is single line because it is no more a chiral carbon, because 2 hydrogens are there. So it can always rotate and bring these two OH in the same side. I hope I am making sense. So what happens is, this OH and this OH now are in the cis form, and this OH and this also are in cis form, they are 1,2 diol, and therefore it is favorable for it to form acetonide here, it is favorable for it to form acetonide here, leaving only 3 OH free. So that is what is happening, you get this product. So this product was B. Now my PhD is in carbohydrate chemistry, so we have done a lot of these things. So these are important, as protection deprotection technique. Why is it important? Imagine I want to do reaction only on this carbon, I do not want to touch 1, 2, 4, 3 and 5. So first I will protect this 1, 2 and 3 and 5 using this, 4 and 5 using this, and then because this is free I can do a reaction with it, I can add some group, some allylic group I can add, and then when I again hydrolyze, I will get back glucose in pyranose form 6-membered ring, but all this OH will be free. Okay. So what all I said is written here, you can go through it. Next question, question number 16. So it says you have a molecule and you are reacting with sodium hydride 2 equivalents and methyl iodide 2 equivalents, you are getting some product P, The question is, this product P, how many peaks it will show in 13C NMR, proton decoupled. Proton decoupled not so important because 13C we always do proton decoupled. So, basically it is asking how many kinds of carbons are there. So, we have to see the reaction. So, let us go step by step. Now, sodium hydride. Sodium hydride is a fantastic base, very powerful base. So, sodium hydride opens up, breaks and gives you H minus. H minus is hydride, very unstable. So, as soon as it sees any proton, it will pick up and become H2 and therefore wonderful base. But it is most hopeless, most horrible nucleophile. It cannot go and attack carbon. Why? Because H minus is very large. Small hydrogen atom, on that you are putting one extra electron, it becomes so big that to approach a nucleophilic electrophilic center, it becomes very tough. But it can easily take out one proton because proton is very small in size and it becomes H2. So, H minus is a very powerful base, but most useless nucleophile, it never acts as a nucleophile rather. Okay. So, now you are having this molecule, So, you are removing this proton one by one. What happens is, both of these protons are equivalent. You can remove proton. Why you can remove proton? Because if you remove proton, you get a negative charge alpha to this carbonyl carbon. When it is alpha to this carbonyl carbon, this negative charge gets stabilized. How it is get stabilized? Through resonance. So, this oxygen takes electron and you get a double bond here. So, negative charge does not remain in carbon, it is being delocalized between this carbon, oxygen, and oxygen you know is electronegative, it can stabilize negative charge. So, therefore, these protons are acidic. Now, since you have added two equivalents of NaH, you cannot imagine that both of them will get out at the same time and you get 2 minus charge. No, that will not happen. Why it won't happen? Because carbon is small, carbon is less electronegative, it does not have the potential to stabilize 2 minus charge. At the max at one time it can stabilize 1 minus charge, and therefore, the reaction will happen in 2 steps. So, let us look. So, first it takes a proton, you get an enolate ion. Enolate what? Ene. Ene is alkene. So, double bond you get ene and olate, because ester, that metal is there. No? So, we give name as ester. So, you are having double bond and negative charge. Second step, what happens? This will go down and this will pick up proton from methyl iodide and you get the product. Just one thing, knowingly I have written this part. When you look at the molecule, look from all sides. So, C double bond we saw this CH2. So, here 2 hydrogens are there. You have to always look, also look alpha to this side also. This side also there is alpha carbon, but carbon has only 4 valency, 1, 2, 3 and 4. So, all this carbon attached to 4 bonds with 4 different carbons. So, no hydrogen. So, we do not have to worry, right. So, what happens? First it takes a proton, you get negative charge, then this negative charge comes here, this double bond goes and attacks methyl, iodide goes off, you get methyl. See, iodine is more electronegative than carbon. What it does? So, it pulls the electron towards itself. So, when it pulls the electron towards itself, iodine gets negative polarity and carbon gets positive polarity. So, therefore, it is a electrophile, methyl is a electrophile. I minus is one of the best leaving group. Why? Anything is good leaving group if it is stable even after leaving. So, after leaving also, because I first comes fluorine, then comes chlorine, then comes bromine and then comes iodine. So, I am going down the group, size has dramatically increased. Iodine is very, very big. So, 1 minus charge gets lost somewhere, because electron density is very, very low here because of size. So, I minus is a wonderful leaving group. So, it leaves and you get this methyl here. Second step, again this proton is taken away by another molecule and this happens and you are getting this. So, this is what is P, and then now we have to tell how many peaks it will show in carbon 13 NMR. Okay. So, carbon 13 NMR basically it will show how many different types of carbons are there, how many chemically different carbons are there. So, many times it may happen that all the carbons are same, something like if you take benzene, if you take something like benzene. Now, benzene if you take carbon 13 NMR, though there are 6 carbons, it will show one peak, but since all carbons are chemically equivalent, they are exactly one and the same, they are exactly one and the same chemically. So, what happens? On this molecule, let us look at these two are methyl. As I am moving one bond I am reaching the same carbon, and stereochemically also they are same, very same, because one C double bond O is there, not that here some methyl group is there, so it may influence this methyl group differently, very symmetrical molecule it is. So, therefore, these two methyl groups are same, and so I am writing them as A and A. Now, look at B. Now, of course, B is different. So, I am writing it B, it is a different carbon. So, these two will show as one peak, this B will show as one peak. Now, I come to C, this is another carbon with carbonyl. So, it will show another peak. So, 3 carbons over. When I come to this fourth, D is again different. So, fourth peak. But now, look at this also I have put E, this also I have put E. Why? I am moving one bond here, I am getting D, I am moving one bond here, I am getting D, I am moving one bond here, I am getting F, I am moving one bond here, I am getting F. These two are exactly same. There chemically they are in the same environment, so they are identical. So, therefore, both of them I have put as E, and they both will show single peak. Now, when I come down, similarly F, these two F are exactly identical. Now, G is different, H is different. So, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, total 8 different carbons are there. So, it will show 8 peaks. So, what all I said is written here, you can read it if you want. Right. Next move to let us move to next question. The question is, among the following, the total number of aromatic species are there. So, let us have a look at the molecules. So, you have A, B, C, D, E, F, G and H aromatic species. So, let us know this rule. For any molecule to be aromatic, it has to follow 3 rules. If it is failing in any of these one rule, then it will not be aromatic. First thing is it should be cyclic. So, let us look. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, all of them are cyclic. So, all of them pass first rule. Second is all of them should be conjugated. Okay? All of them should be conjugated. I will come back to it because it is a little complicated. And third one is it should follow Huckel's rule. So, Huckel's rule says number of pi electrons which are being delocalized over the system should follow 4n plus 2 rule. So, pi electrons are basically electrons which are conjugated, which are being shared. Okay? So, it should follow 4n plus 2 rule where n is equal to 0, 1, 2, 3. What it means is, imagine number of electrons are some number, we have to find out it is there or not. So, that number has to be 4n plus 2. So, imagine if n is equal to 0. So, what becomes 4n? 4 into 0 is 0 plus 2. So, the number of pi electrons should be either 2. Imagine if n is equal to 1. So, 4 into 1 is 4 plus 2. So, it can be 6. So, number of pi electrons which are conjugated, it can be either 2, it can be either 6, or if you take n as 2, it can be 14 and so on and so forth. So, but generally after 14 is tough because system become unstable. So, if the number of pi electrons which are rotating, which are conjugated, if they are either 2 or 6 or 14, then it will be aromatic if it is fulfilling all other rules. So, let us look at the second rule. So, first one I told of they are all cyclic, so no issues. Second one is conjugated means it should follow 2 rules. Molecule should be planar and all the neighboring atoms should have p orbital on it, okay, or p orbital or orbital which is having electron which can be shared, which can be conjugated. Why planar? Basically it is like this, the orbitals if they are parallel to each other, then only they will overlap. then only they will overlap, so that system can be conjugated. So we are talking about conjugation. Conjugation matlab orbitals have to be overlap. Now imagine some molecule is there like this, then something comes up and those goes down. So now suddenly this comes up in between and something is going like this and something is like this, so they cannot overlap. So only when the molecule is planar, it should be in one plane. Okay, suddenly something should not come out of the board, something cannot go inside the screen. All of the atoms should be on the screen, then only conjugation is possible. So many times what happens, if system is becoming unstable, then it will lose its planarity, so that conjugation is lost. We will talk about it. Okay. So let us see if these molecules are conjugated or not. Second rule. Look at these molecules, all of them look planar to me, and very tough to see this molecule and say it is planar or not. Looks like planar unless it is very large molecule, something like 18 carbons are there, then it is very tough for the system to remain planar. They will bend off, they will become puckered, because it is tough, so many carbons to be held together by pi bond. Now let us look at conjugation. Conjugation, what I said is, all the atoms on the molecule which is part of the ring, which is taking part in the conjugation, they should have p orbital on it. Now that p orbital can be vacant, it can have 1 electron or it can have 2 electron, but it should have p orbital, so that it shares the electron. Now look at 1. This carbon has a p orbital, pi bond is there, it has a p orbital with 1 electron. This also has p orbital with 1 electron, this also has p orbital with 1 electron, this also has p orbital with 1 electron. Oxygen does not have p orbital, but still it may take part because it has sp3 hybridized carbon which has 2 electrons, and this orbital can overlap. It's basically they have to overlap to be conjugated. So till here conjugation is fine, but this carbon is single bonded, it is sp3 hybridized, it has 4 bonds. So one is hydrogen, one is hydrogen, so it does not have any orbital free, all are bonded to some atom, so it cannot pass on the electron, it cannot overlap. So this system is definitely not conjugated. So by the rule 2, I am ruling out A. Here there is no issue, all of them have orbitals. Let us look at this interesting molecule. This has one p orbital, this has one p orbital, this also has one p orbital, this also has p orbital, also this has p orbital. It is saying positive charge. Positive charge means carbon is sp2 hybridized. So you know carbon has 4 1s and 3p. So if they together they conjugate, so it is forming hybridized, they form sp2 hybridized, then one of the p orbital remains unhybridized. That one unhybridized p orbital is here, which does not have any electron, therefore positive charge. So it is not sp3 hybridized orbital or sp2 hybridized orbital, it is p orbital which is unhybridized. So now this can overlap with this can overlap with this, it can overlap with this, it can overlap with this. I must have drawn, let me see, okay, not here, but I will show you. So, so since they overlap, so this is also conjugated. Now here all of them are conjugated, no issues. Here also you see there is a p orbital here, there is a p orbital here which will overlap with this p orbital and this p orbital. So this is also conjugated. Here also all are conjugated, this is negative charge. So negative charge actually is sp3 hybridized. It is not p orbital, but sp3 hybridization is there. It has 2 electrons, but it can overlap to a certain extent, it overlaps, and that is how it is part of conjugation. So this also is fine. Let us look at G. H also no problem, this is p orbital. It is not p orbital, it is sp3 hybridized orbital, but with lone pair of electron. Remember, carbocation is sp2 hybridized, whereas carbanion is sp3 hybridized. So carbocation has a p orbital which is vacant, whereas carbanion does not have p orbital. It has one sp3 hybridized orbital with lone pair of electron, but it does overlap. Okay, so this overlaps with this orbital. So this is also conjugated. Let us look at G. So G, what happens? This nitrogen is not sp2 hybridized, sp3 hybridized. It has a p orbital in sp3 hybridized orbital, but this overlaps. You can see here this is overlapping with this p orbital, with p orbital, p orbital, p orbital, p orbital, and therefore this whole system is conjugated. So now the last rule which will tell us, because after all these two rules we could remove only one molecule. So the last is the number of conjugate system should be have 4n plus 2 electrons. So now as we told, 4n plus 2 is important for a molecule to be aromatic. There is something called as anti-aromatic. Now in between aromatic and anti-aromatic there comes something what is non-aromatic. So rather molecule will prefer to remain in non-aromatic than becoming anti-aromatic, because anti-aromatic is very unstable. So look at this molecule, look at this molecule. So this molecule cyclic, planar, conjugated, but number of electrons is 4. So 4n, you know, no? N can be 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, 3. So 0, 4 into 0, 0, that does not make sense. But 4 into 1 is equal to 4, 4, 1 is equal to 4. So this is anti-aromatic. Nobody wants to be anti-aromatic. So what actually it has been seen, and they have found out through all the experimental evidences, molecule like this, if they come, if they form, what they do is they will immediately try to lose its conjugation. So what happens? One of this, imagine this carbon, this comes out of the screen, it comes up, it becomes puckered. Then what happens? This p orbital will not overlap with this p orbital. So conjugation is completely lost and the system becomes non-aromatic, because non-aromatic is better than being anti-aromatic. Now how we know all this? Because they have done X-ray study and they saw that bond difference is there, double bond is shorter than single bond. That means these orbitals are not overlapping and molecule has lost its planarity. Let us see something like benzene. So benzene, these are the two Kekule structures we draw. Then this is like that. We can say that double bond is shared equally between all of them, and the bond length of this and this all are same. So it is conjugated system, this one is non-conjugated. So therefore this molecule is not aromatic, this molecule is not aromatic. It is asking number of aromatic molecule. Similarly this is not aromatic. Why? Because I told you this conjugated, there is a p orbital, but number of total electrons is 1, 2, 3, 4, anti-aromatic. This is also anti-aromatic, this is also anti-aromatic. 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Negative charge means 2 electrons are there. If only 1 electron was there, it would have been a radical. 2 electrons are there. 6 plus 2, 8. So this is also anti-aromatic. So all these systems are wrong. So number of aromatic systems are only B, E, F and G, that is 4. Okay. So they had asked numbers, so you have to just write 4 there. Let us look at molecule E. I have explained you, but again I will explain you. So there is a p positive charge. Positive charge means it is unhybridized p orbital which is vacant. So this p orbital is there, positive charge which is vacant, and then we have 2 p orbitals, and then we have 2 p orbitals. This pi bond, both of them have 1 electron, and this is vacant, but they all conjugate and they form a system, and this is having 2 electrons. So 4n plus 2, n is equal to 0, it is 2, therefore molecule E is also aromatic. Now last question, question number 26 for today's lecture. The product formed in the following reaction sequence. Now this looks very complicated, okay, and unless you do follow full mechanism, just to look at product and tell which one is very tough. So basically we are having this molecule, we are having ketone and you are having ethanolic KOH. Alcoholic KOH is always basic, not nucleophilic. Aqueous KOH is nucleophilic. OH minus can go and attack a carbonyl group, but in alcohol if you put KOH, it always gives elimination product. So it will act as a base, it will only attack a proton. And then you are having alpha beta unsaturated ketone. So you know, when you see alpha beta unsaturated ketone, generally it will be nucleophilic addition on it, okay, it will act as a electrophile. So, let us go and look at it. There is no point in seeing the molecules, it is very tough to understand from the reactant for the products given, choices given. So, first thing is KOH is a powerful base, so it will take away proton, then it will take away proton which is acidic. Which will be acidic proton? Any hydrogen alpha to CO will be acidic. So, this hydrogen and even this hydrogen can be acidic, but this carbon, this system is very strained. 3-membered ring, it is very unstable system. Now, you put a more negative charge here, it will make the system really tough, because you will get kind of double bond character. When it is double bond, its movement is also restricted. So, already strained, putting another strain is not possible. So, when you put a base, proton from here will not be lost, be sure about it. Proton will be lost from here and you get negative charge, this is there. Now, what happens is, you understand this, if it is generally Ka plus or Na plus, this O minus are not nucleophilic, they do not attack, it will always come back here, and carbon is more reactive. Oxygen can stabilize negative charge, carbon cannot. So, that is why it reacts, always carbon acts as nucleophile and not oxygen. But if instead of Na plus or K plus, if Li plus was there, then sometimes even O minus attacks, but generally it is always carbon which attacks. Okay? Now, what is said is written here. Now, this is interesting. Now, where will that carbon attack? You are having like this, you are having O minus and you are having this double bond. So, this will come here and this carbon attacks. Now, you understand this, oxygen and carbon we are comparing. Oxygen is electronegative, much more electronegative than carbon. Oxygen is much more electronegative than carbon. So, oxygen holds its electrons close to itself. So, it is tough to polarize this p orbital. So, it is hard base or it is hard nucleophile, whereas carbon, no, carbon is not electronegative. So, it does not hold its lobe very close to it. So, lobe is very big. So, it is easy to polarize. So, it is a hard nucleophile, a soft nucleophile. Remember, hard attacks hard, soft attacks soft. Because it is soft nucleophile, it will go and attack a soft electrophile. So, on this on this molecule there are two electrophiles systems. This is one and this is second one. Now, this one is hard electrophile. So, O minus would rather prefer to attack here, not here, okay, but C minus will attack here, not sorry, C minus will attack here, not here. Why? Because hard attacks hard, soft attacks soft. So, now we are talking about soft nucleophile, because CH2 minus is attacking. This carbon is attached to oxygen. Oxygen is electronegative, so pulls the electron towards itself. So, the whole lobe becomes smaller, the bonding orbital, the anti-bonding orbital, this anti-bonding orbital becomes very small. So, that is why it is tough for a soft nucleophile to attack here, because this becomes hard. So, remember, carbonyl carbon is a hard center, carbonyl carbon is a hard center, but this one is soft center. Why? Because it is alkene. So, alkene is having carbon carbon double bond, nobody is electronegative here. So, these lobes are quite big, easy to polarize. Polarize means you can pull it up basically. So, it is easy to polarize. So, it is soft, and therefore this is where attack will happen and not here. So, you are having this minus. So, this minus comes here, this will go and attack here on this carbon, and this comes here, you get negative charge, and this O minus comes here, this goes and takes proton, you are getting this molecule. Okay? So, this is what happens in the first phase. Now still the system is not very stable. Why it is not very stable? Because still this strained ring is there and it will try to do something. Now you put a base. Now base will pull away protons. It can pull from here also. It will pull from here also, because already base is there. You know, alcoholic KOH is there. So it will remove both, and I would say rather this is formed more. This is formed more than this, because if it was bulky base, then of course I would have understood that this proton was easily accessible and they would have removed this, and you get more of this negative charge and you get this bond. You get a negative charge, this comes here and this comes up, and you get double bond here, O minus. But here it is OH minus. OH minus is not at all bulky. So it will rather take away proton from here. It will take proton from here, and this comes up and it goes here, and you get this one. And this is more preferred because this is more substituted double bond. This one is less substituted double bond. So more substituted double bond is more favored than less substituted. But the issue is, one second. But the issue is, if this comes here and this goes and attacks here, if this goes and attacks here, what you are getting is this carbon, this carbon, this carbon and this carbon. These fours will react and you get a 4-membered ring. Now remember, always remember, 4-membered ring is the worst ring. It is neither kinetically nor thermodynamically favored. 3-membered ring is also very unstable, but at least 3-membered ring is kinetically favored. Kinetically means very fast it happens. It may not stay longer because very unstable it is. But 4-membered ring is not even kinetically favored. So it does not happen. Even if it forms, it will not be stable. So this enolate will not be attacking this carbonyl. Rather, this less stable one, this enolate will attack this carbonyl, and you get the ring, right? So as I told you, this is disfavored because you are getting 4-membered ring. 4-membered ring is not favorable. So this part goes and attacks. So you get a negative charge comes here. This goes and attacks here, and you get O minus. Of course, ethanol is already there. So ethanol gives the proton, it becomes OH. Now what happens? In the last step, if you look in the question, what it says is you are also reacting with HCl. So now HCl is there. Yeah. So this OH takes away proton from HCl and becomes OH2 plus. Now I have told previously, water is excellent leaving group. So generally क्या होता है, पड़ोस का negative, पड़ोस का proton है, this proton will come here and H2O is lost. That's what generally happens, and it will give you very stable, nice alpha beta unsaturated ketone. That's what it should happen. But only issue is, पड़ोस में, in this neighbor there is a very strained ring, 3-membered ring. So what it does, it is rather than remaining like this 3-membered ring breaks away. This is kind of bent bond, you know. So it goes here, you get a positive charge here, so it's a bent bond, they start overlapping. You know, if this removes, you get a positive charge, so there is a lobe here. And this triple bond, no, you look into books something like Jerry March, they talk about sp5 hybridization. So this bond is bent bond. So this bond is bent bond and it overlaps, and therefore this will go and interact, and then this leaves, and then this leaves. So what happens is, this goes and attacks, this water leaves, and you get a double bond here and you get a positive charge. You just now saw that this has taken protons to become water. So Cl minus is there, and Cl minus goes and attacks here, and you are getting this. Now we are getting this molecule. This molecule looks quite good to me. Only issue I am seeing is, it could have been alpha beta unsaturated ketone, but it is beta gamma unsaturated ketone. Alpha beta unsaturated ketone is much stable because it is conjugated rather than isolated double bond. See, ketone in general is very stable, but isolated double bond is very unstable. If it is alpha beta unsaturated ketone, then it is very stable, okay, then this is very stable. So what molecule does is, What molecule does this? It undergoes isomerization. How it undergoes isomerization? Cl minus is there because HCl is there. So Cl minus takes this proton, this goes here and this picks up proton and you get alpha beta unsaturated ketone. So this is what will be the product be. So this answer is C. It was 2 marks question. You can see 2 marks question is more tough than 1 mark question. So that's it for today. Thank you very much.